Before I tell you what happened, I need you to do something that has nothing to do with liking this video or subscribing to the channel. Just listen carefully. If your webcam light turns on while I'm telling this story, don't look into it. Close your laptop immediately. Don't check your reflection. Don't try to see who's watching. Just walk away. I almost deleted this recording 3 different times. Every time I sat down to edit it, something changed. Clips disappeared. Audio shifted. Once, I found a frame that I never filmed. It lasted less than a second, but it showed someone standing behind my chair. When I turned around, there was nobody there. I told myself I was exhausted. That explanation stopped working a long time ago. This all started because I have a bad habit of digging through forgotten corners of the internet. Old forums, dead message boards, archived discussions about internet myths everyone else laughs at. Most of it is obvious fiction, but every now and then you find something that feels wrong. Buried inside a thread with no replies was a broken hyperlink. The post was years old, and the account that shared it had already been deleted. Out of curiosity, I clicked it. The website loaded almost instantly. It looked unfinished, like someone had abandoned it halfway through creating it. Black background, plain white text, no logo, no menus, no advertisements, just one sentence. "We've already been watching." I actually laughed. I remember shaking my head before pressing refresh. The page blinked. The sentence disappeared. In its place was a live image. My bedroom, my desk, my chair. The picture wasn't taken from my webcam. It was taken from somewhere behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly fell over. Nothing. No one. No hidden camera. No open door. No sound except my own breathing. That's when I realized the camera wasn't recording me. It was looking at me. I wish closing the tab had ended everything. I wish I could tell you I made the smart choice after that. That I unplugged my laptop, wiped the drive, and forgot everything I'd seen. Instead, I convinced myself there had to be a logical explanation. Hidden security cameras. A prank. Malware. Anything was easier to believe than what my instincts were trying to tell me. I started retracing my steps. The link had come from an ancient message board dedicated to obscure internet myths. Most of the threads hadn't been touched in over a decade. Half the images were broken, and almost every user profile had vanished. The post itself was barely visible beneath layers of corrupted text. The account that shared the hyperlink no longer existed. Clicking the username only returned a simple error. This profile could not be found. I copied the website address before it disappeared again. Then I searched for it. Nothing. Google showed 0 results. Other search engines returned empty pages. Even searching the exact URL inside quotation marks produced absolutely nothing. That was impossible. Every website leaves footprints somewhere. Domain records, forum mentions, cached pages, mirrors, something. Curious, I checked the Internet Archive. No snapshots, no records, not even proof the address had ever existed. It was as if the Internet itself refused to remember it. Except, my browser still opened it every single time. Each visit was different. One refresh revealed a page filled with thousands of usernames arranged in endless columns. None looked familiar, yet every few seconds another name quietly appeared without the page reloading. Refresh again. The usernames vanished. Now there were city names. Chicago, Osaka, Buenos Aires, Reykjavik. Small towns I'd never heard of. Places blinking in and out of existence like someone was editing the list in real time. Another refresh. Nothing but timestamps. Hundreds of them. No dates. Just hours, minutes, and seconds. 3 hours 14 minutes and 52 seconds. 11 hours 9 minutes and 1 second. 22 hours 47 minutes and 33 seconds. They looked random until my eyes stopped on one entry. 21 hours, 38 minutes, and 16 seconds. I glanced at the clock sitting beside my monitor. 21 hours, 38 minutes, and 16 seconds. The timestamp changed the exact second I looked at it. My stomach tightened. Trying to calm myself down, I called my friend Ethan. He'd spent years working in cybersecurity and loved proving me wrong whenever I claimed I'd found something unusual. "You're overthinking it," he said after listening to my story. "Screen share it." I started the call. Opened the website. The moment screen sharing activated, everything disappeared. White screen. Blank page. No text. No image. Nothing. "What exactly am I supposed to be looking at?" Ethan asked. "It was right here. I think you've got corrupted browser data." "No, you don't understand. I understand you're freaking yourself out over a broken web page." I refreshed again. Still blank. Embarrassed, I ended the call. The instant the connection closed, the website returned. Not the homepage. Not the timestamps. Just a single sentence centered on the screen. "You showed someone." I stared at it, frozen. Then, before I could touch the keyboard, the text faded away on its own. A new page loaded automatically. Every instinct I had told me to close the browser and pretend none of this had happened. Instead, I did what curiosity always convinces people to do. I refreshed the page. The sentence vanished. A new image faded into view. It was my kitchen. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I noticed the coffee maker in the corner and the mug sitting beneath it. Steam was still rising from the cup. I frowned. I hadn't made coffee yet. I glanced toward the kitchen anyway, half expecting to smell it before I saw it. Everything was exactly as I'd left it earlier that morning. No coffee. No mug. I looked back at the screen. The image remained unchanged, almost as if someone was waiting for me to catch up. Curiosity beat fear. I walked into the kitchen and, almost without thinking, filled the coffee maker. A few minutes later, I placed the same blue mug beneath it. My stomach dropped. The picture on the website wasn't similar. It was identical. Even the position of the spoon beside the sink matched perfectly. I refreshed again. The kitchen disappeared. Now the website showed the hallway outside my apartment. There I was, walking toward my own front door with my phone in one hand. The hallway behind me was empty. At least, it looked empty. I leaned closer to the screen. Near the far end of the corridor, something darker than the shadows stood perfectly still. It had no face that I could make out, only a shape that seemed too tall and too thin to be a person. Before I could zoom in, the page refreshed itself. The next image stole the air from my lungs. I was asleep. The picture had been taken from the foot of my bed. The blankets rose and fell with my breathing while my face was turned toward the wall. Someone had been standing in my bedroom while I slept. Or something had. I searched every corner of my apartment that afternoon. Smoke detectors, bookshelves, picture frames, power outlets. Nothing. No hidden cameras. No signs of anyone breaking in. No explanation. By evening, the fear had started to feel almost ridiculous. Maybe someone had edited the images. Maybe I downloaded some sophisticated virus. I laughed under my breath, trying to convince myself. The website answered by changing again. This time, the picture hadn't happened yet. My favorite blue mug lay shattered across the kitchen floor. Coffee spread between the broken pieces like dark blood. I stared at it for almost a full minute before shaking my head. "Nice try," I muttered. I stood up to prove the image wrong. As I reached for the mug, my elbow clipped the cabinet door. The cup slipped from my hand. It exploded across the tiles exactly as the picture had shown. Every fragment landed in the same place. Even the spreading coffee looked identical. The laughter died in my throat. Hands trembling, I refreshed the page. A photograph of my right hand appeared. Blood streamed across my fingers from a deep cut near the thumb. I refused to believe it. 10 minutes later, While cleaning the broken ceramic, one sharp piece sliced across my palm. The sting came a second before the blood. I froze. The website had never guessed. It had remembered. My pulse pounded in my ears as another image loaded without me touching the keyboard. Outside my apartment building, two police officers stood beside a patrol car. One of them was looking directly toward my window. I checked the parking lot. It was empty. "No," I whispered. The screen stayed unchanged. 3 minutes later, flashing red and blue lights spilled across my living room walls. A loud knock echoed through the apartment. Every hair on my body stood up. The website had been right again. The knocking came again. 3 slow hits. Not impatient. Not aggressive. Measured. Almost as if whoever stood outside already knew I was there. I forced myself toward the door and looked through the peephole. 2 police officers. Exactly like the photograph. Same patrol car. Same older officer with gray hair. Same younger officer checking something on a tablet. Even the angle of the flashing lights matched the image I'd seen only minutes earlier. My hand tightened around the doorknob before I finally unlocked it. The older officer offered a polite smile. "Evening, sir." I couldn't answer immediately. My eyes kept drifting toward the patrol car outside. The website hadn't predicted this. It had documented it before it happened. "We received a call from one of your neighbors," the officer continued. "They reported hearing someone screaming inside your apartment." I frowned. "Screaming?" "Yes, sir. There hasn't been anyone here except me." The younger officer glanced past my shoulder into the apartment. "Would you mind if we asked you a couple of questions?" I stepped aside just enough for them to see the living room. My laptop was still open on the desk. The website remained visible, but from where they stood, it looked like nothing more than a blank white page. The older officer lowered his voice. "Sir." He hesitated. "Are you alone?" I opened my mouth to answer. Then I heard it. A whisper. So close that warm breath seemed to brush against my ear. "Don't tell them." Every muscle in my body locked. The voice wasn't outside. It wasn't coming from the hallway. It came from directly behind me. Inside my apartment. Inside the room I'd searched from floor to ceiling. I wanted to turn around. I couldn't. Something deep inside me screamed that if I looked, I'd see whoever, or whatever, had been standing behind me since the first impossible photograph. The officer repeated himself. "Sir, are you alone?" My heart hammered so hard it hurt. I swallowed. "Yes." The word left my mouth before I could stop it. "Just me." The whisper disappeared instantly. The officers exchanged a quick glance. The younger one looked unconvinced. "You sure?" he asked. I nodded. "I've been here by myself all evening." Another silence. Then the older officer sighed. "It's probably a misunderstanding. If you hear anything unusual tonight, give us a call." "I will." They thanked me for my time and walked back toward the patrol car. I waited until they drove away before shutting the door. The deadbolt clicked into place. For several seconds I stood perfectly still, listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No breathing. No whisper. Only the faint hum of my laptop. Slowly, I turned toward the screen. The blank page was gone. The website had returned. A new line of text appeared beneath the sentence I'd seen earlier. "Good choice." Below it, another message typed itself one letter at a time. "They couldn't help you anyway." A cold wave of realization settled over me. This thing wasn't just showing photographs. It knew every decision before I made it. It knew who came to my door. It knew what I would say. Maybe it wasn't predicting the future at all. Maybe it was creating it. My eyes drifted across the page, searching for anything I'd missed before. That's when I noticed something that definitely hadn't been there earlier. In the lower right corner of the screen, almost invisible against the black background, was a tiny symbol. 3 horizontal lines. A hidden menu. Without touching the mouse, it slowly unfolded on its own. Every visitor breaks one rule. The hidden menu unfolded without my cursor ever touching it. There were no icons, no settings, no profile page. Only a single option: user guidelines. My instincts screamed at me to close the browser, but curiosity had already carried me this far. I clicked. The screen went black. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then white text slowly appeared, one line at a time, as if someone were typing it from the other side of the monitor. Welcome. Every visitor breaks at least one rule. Most never realize which one. Below the message, a numbered list faded into view. Rule 1. Never cover your webcam. I stared at the tiny camera above my screen. It looked ordinary, harmless. Yet after everything I'd already witnessed, it suddenly felt less like a piece of hardware and more like an eye. The next line appeared. Rule 2. Never refresh after midnight. I checked the clock. 11:47 p.m. Without thinking, I remembered how many times I'd hit the refresh key since finding the site. My pulse quickened. Another sentence typed itself beneath it. Rule 3. If your own reflection waves first, close your eyes. A chill spread through me. I could see my reflection faintly in the dark parts of the screen. It wasn't moving. Not yet. I forced myself to keep reading. Rule 4. Never answer unknown video calls. I frowned. I hadn't received any. At least, I didn't think I had. Then I remembered all the missed notifications I'd ignored over the last few days. Unknown numbers. Silent calls. Requests that vanished before I could answer. The website already knew. It knew which rules I had broken before I even knew they existed. A new paragraph appeared underneath the list. Rule violations detected. One line at a time, they appeared. Rule 2. Broken. I had refreshed the page after midnight. Rule 4. Broken. One of those silent video calls must have connected before I declined it. Then another. Rule 5. Broken. I froze. There wasn't even a Rule 5 on the screen. The page expanded by itself. Another line emerged. Rule 5. Never mention this website aloud. My stomach dropped. I had told Ethan everything over the phone. The site had been listening. One final rule appeared. Rule 6. If another version of yourself appears, pretend not to notice. I read it twice. Then a third time. I didn't understand it. I wanted to believe it was nonsense. Until the website changed again. The list disappeared. In its place, a single message blinked across the screen. Rules broken, 4. Beneath it, a countdown began. 6. I leaned back in my chair. 5. The lights in my apartment dimmed for less than a second. Long enough for every shadow to stretch across the walls. 4. A tiny green light appeared above my laptop screen. The webcam. I hadn't turned it on. I opened the camera application. It insisted no camera was connected. Yet the light remained. Watching. I grabbed a sticky note from my desk and pressed it firmly over the lens. The webcam light went dark. For one hopeful second, I believed I'd won. Then letters began appearing across the monitor. That won't stop us. The sticky note slowly peeled itself away. Not quickly, not dramatically. It simply slid downward as though invisible fingers were pulling it free from the glass. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. The camera light turned green again. A deafening static crackled through my speakers. The web page transformed. Not into another warning. Not into another photograph. Into thousands of tiny live camera feeds arranged across the screen. Bedrooms. Offices. Dorm rooms. Hotels. People stared silently into their webcams. None of them blinked. None of them moved. The longer I watched, the more impossible it became. Every face looked terrified. Every pair of eyes was fixed on something just beyond the camera. Then one person moved. A man sitting in a dimly lit room slowly turned his head. He wasn't looking into his own webcam anymore. He was looking directly at me. And then, he smiled. The smile didn't belong on a human face. It was too wide, too still, like someone had been told what happiness looked like, but had never actually felt it. The man never blinked. Neither did the thousands of people surrounding him. Every tiny camera feed showed someone frozen in place, staring into their screen with the same empty expression. Bedrooms, offices, school dorms, hotel rooms, living rooms, different countries, different ages. Yet every one of them looked as though they were waiting for the exact same moment. The smiling man slowly raised one finger. Not toward his own camera. Toward mine. Toward me. My chest tightened. I slammed the laptop halfway shut. The feeds disappeared. The static stopped. For a heartbeat, the apartment was completely silent. Then something changed. The silence itself felt occupied. The air grew unnaturally heavy, as if the room had become smaller without the walls moving. My desk suddenly seemed farther away. The hallway leading to my bedroom looked longer than it had only seconds before. I looked toward the bathroom mirror. For the smallest fraction of a second, I thought I saw someone standing beside me. When I turned, no one. My reflection copied every movement perfectly. Almost perfectly. I remembered Rule 6. If another version of yourself appears, pretend not to notice. I backed away without looking at the mirror again. The laptop chimed. One short notification. The screen had opened by itself. The countdown was still running. 3. Another line appeared beneath it. Compliance probability decreasing. I hadn't touched the keyboard. I hadn't moved the mouse. The website wasn't waiting for commands anymore. It was responding to me. Another sentence slowly typed itself across the page. Observation creates access. Then another. Access creates permanence. I whispered, "What are you?" The response came instantly. "You already asked the wrong question." A cold realization settled over me. This had never been a normal website hiding somewhere on the internet. It wasn't malware. It wasn't a government experiment. It wasn't even software. The browser was only a doorway. Whatever this thing was had existed long before I found that broken hyperlink. The forgotten forum, the deleted account, the impossible photographs, they weren't the source. They were invitations. The rules weren't there to protect the website. They were there to protect the people who stumbled across it. And I'd already broken 4 of them. The webcam light flickered again. This time it wasn't green. It glowed a deep, unnatural red. Across every camera feed, every frozen person moved at exactly the same moment. Not much. Just enough to tilt their heads toward me. Thousands of faces. One synchronized movement. Then they all smiled. Exactly like the man had. The laptop speakers crackled. For the first time, I heard voices instead of static. Not one voice. Thousands. Whispering the same sentence in perfect unison. "We can see you." I didn't wait to hear another word. I ripped the charging cable from the wall. Nothing happened. The screen stayed on. I held the power button. The display never dimmed. I closed the lid. The whispers continued from inside the laptop as though the speakers no longer mattered. Whatever was inside that website wasn't using electricity anymore. It was already here. And in that moment, I made the only decision that still felt human. I wasn't going to close the browser. I wasn't going to log out. I was going to destroy the laptop completely. The whole internet was watching. I didn't hesitate. I carried the laptop into my kitchen, grabbed the heaviest hammer I owned, and brought it down across the keyboard with everything I had. Plastic exploded across the counter. The screen shattered into black glass. The whispers stopped. For one glorious second, I thought I'd finally won. Then the broken speakers laughed. Not loudly, just enough for me to hear. One more swing crushed the motherboard. Another split the hinges. When nothing recognizable remained, I carried the pieces outside and dumped them into an old metal fire pit behind the building. I soaked every fragment in lighter fluid. The flames climbed high enough to force me back. When the fire died, I collected what was left of the hard drive, placed it inside a vise in my garage, and crushed it until the metal casing split open. Then I melted the exposed platters with a blowtorch. No computer, no storage, no evidence. Back upstairs, I unplugged my modem, disconnected the router, removed every network cable. My apartment had become an island with no connection to the outside world. For the first time in hours. Silence. Then, ding, a notification. My television switched itself on. The screen remained black except for a single line of white text. We're still here. I unplugged the television. The message stayed. Only after I smashed the screen with a chair did it finally disappear. My phone vibrated. No signal. No Wi-Fi. Battery at 1%. Yet a notification appeared anyway. You missed 3 updates. Before I could unlock it, the display changed into the same black page I destroyed with the laptop. I threw the phone across the room. The screen cracked. The website didn't. Moments later, my tablet, which had been powered off inside a drawer for weeks, lit up by itself. The familiar homepage appeared. Black background. White letters. No browser. No operating system. Just the website. My breathing became shallow. One by one, every screen in my apartment awakened. The microwave clock flickered. The digital thermostat flashed the same message. Even the smart refrigerator displayed the black homepage across its tiny touchscreen. That's when the truth finally became impossible to ignore. The website wasn't inside my devices. My devices were connected to it. I wasn't being haunted by a computer. I was being observed through every screen capable of looking back. Desperate for answers, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Marcus, an old cybersecurity analyst who'd left private contracting after working with federal agencies. He answered on the 3rd ring. "You sound terrified," he said. "I found something online." Silence. "What kind of something?" "A website." Another pause. Then he asked the question that froze my blood. "Does it watch people?" I couldn't speak. Marcus exhaled slowly. "We've heard rumors. You know about it?" "Not officially." "What is it?" "I don't think anyone knows." He lowered his voice. "There were classified projects years ago. They tried deleting it. They failed. They couldn't even locate where it existed." I gripped the phone tighter. "What about copying it?" "They tried that too." "What happened?" "Every team that worked on it disappeared." The line crackled. Marcus spoke one last time. "If you're seeing it, stop using every screen you own." "Marcus!" He cut me off. "Cover every screen." The call ended. No goodbye. No explanation. Only silence. I walked to the window. Outside, the city looked perfectly ordinary. Traffic moved. People crossed intersections. Apartments glowed against the night sky. Then I noticed something impossible. Televisions behind living room windows. Navigation screens inside parked cars. Digital billboards towering over the highway. Phones in pedestrians' hands. Every display, every screen, every glowing surface showed the exact same image. A single unblinking eye. Watching. Not scanning. Not blinking. Just watching. Thousands of people walked past it without reacting, as though they couldn't see it, or had already accepted it. That's when another terrifying possibility entered my mind. Maybe I hadn't discovered a hidden website. Maybe I'd only become capable of seeing something that had always been there. The website wasn't created. It was discovered. And just as that thought settled in, something in my pocket vibrated. The last mistake. I left my apartment before sunrise. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I sold what I could, abandoned everything else, and disappeared into a town where nobody knew my name. I stopped carrying a smartphone. I bought an old pickup with no touchscreen. I refused to install Wi-Fi. The television stayed unplugged in the closet. Even my microwave was replaced with one that had nothing more than two mechanical dials. For a while, it worked. Or at least I convinced myself it did. The whispers stopped. Create a YouTube thumbnail with a dark, scary, and mysterious background. AI should choose a random horror/mystery scene, like a haunted forest, abandoned building, or creepy field. Add a terrifying, shadowy, faceless, or monstrous figure on one side of the image. The overall mood should be unsettling and suspenseful, similar to viral horror story thumbnails. Add bold, large, cracked stone texture text. It's watching you now, the words in blood red, glowing letters. Cinematic lighting, eerie atmosphere, highly detailed, creepy horror vibe. ChatGPT Yijo main APKO thumbnail prompt or thumbnail text dia hi yijis category ka hi usi category ka banakar din or iska background. Text style, text colors. Itni too strong CTR, Hanku USA. Key audience ka click karn par dil care, or Han 4 Muktalif styles min thumbnails begin. The impossible photographs stopped. No glowing webcams. No mysterious notifications. No black screens filled with white text. Then, one afternoon, I heard the familiar sound. Ding. I froze. There wasn't a single electronic device in the house. The sound came again. Closer this time. It wasn't coming from a speaker. It was coming from my mailbox. Inside was a plain brown envelope with no stamp, no address, and no return label. Only my name, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a photograph, not printed from a phone, not developed from film, just there. It showed me sitting at my kitchen table, holding the very envelope I had just opened. The picture had been taken from behind my chair, exactly like the first image on the website. I slowly turned it over. On the back, written in neat black ink, were 5 words. Thanks for looking back. I don't remember dropping the photograph. I only remember realizing there was nowhere left to run. So now I'm doing the only thing I can. I'm telling you. Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's a confession. Or maybe it's exactly what the website wants. Before you dismiss everything I've said, answer a few questions honestly. Did your webcam light blink at any point during this story? Did your reflection ever seem just a fraction of a second out of sync? Did autoplay pause for no reason? Did your screen dim for a moment, even though your brightness never changed? If none of that happened, I hope it stays that way. Because I finally understand something I should have realized from the beginning. I never found that website. The website found me. The broken forum. The deleted account. The impossible link. They weren't discoveries. They were invitations. And maybe this video is one too. If you've experienced anything strange while listening, don't ignore it. Tell me what happened. Read the other comments carefully. You might discover someone else noticed the same thing, or something even worse. I have other files I haven't shared yet, and this wasn't the only impossible case I stumbled across. In fact, this wasn't the only website I found. The next one never appeared in any browser at all. If your screen just went black for a second, don't check whether someone is standing behind you.